Welcome back to another episode of Meet the Pro. This is my opportunity to reconnect not only with our UAG members, but with all the other pros out there. The current series, we are focusing on our UAG members, of which Mr. Stephenson here is one of our old school guys. Been around a little while. Welcome, Dylan.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to doing this.
So let's let everybody get to know you a little bit more. For those that don't know you, don't follow you, why don't you give us a little bit of background, company name, where you live, all that kind of, where you work, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. My name is Dylan Stephenson, owner of Solo Cuts Landscaping. We are based out of Springfield, Ohio, and we specialize in property maintenance and landscape design and install. We've been in business for 6 years, but for 4 of that, I was working part-time to eventually take the leap on full-time. And last year, 2020 spring, was our first official year of where I was working at full-time. So I'm sure that'll be a topic of conversation that we hit on today. So so that's a little bit about me.
Let's focus on that a little bit, because I think we were talking about this before, and I think it's a great story because we have had a lot of these, right? As those of you that have been following this series know, we've got a number of part-timers this year because we're really trying to focus on that transition from part-time to full-time and what does that take? Because that's just such a large part of this community. You know, whether they're students who are doing it and looking to potentially transition out of school to become full-time, or retirees that are doing it part-time, or even first responders. We have a lot of first responders that are doing this part-time, waiting to retire and then moving. So everybody has their own reasons for why they started the way they did. You started because of your kids. You want to talk about that and why you went part-time versus full-time?
Yeah. So to give a little background information of how I got started, and then that'll bleed into why, we put the time in. So my wife and I first bought a house. That house was sitting on about 2 acres. It was up on a steep hill, so we needed a mower that was going to be able to handle the property we did. So in that world, we end up buying like a entry-level commercial zero-turn mower. So just to pick up the payment basically of the mower, I ended up snagging up a couple yards, literally just to cover the payment of the mower. I had no interest in taking on as a business. That wasn't even an idea or a thought. But then I started just posting some pictures online, just kind of sharing a little bit of information about it. And the next thing you know, it started snowballing into, hey, will you do my mulch? Yeah, I can do mulch. And it just kind of snowballed into this thing that we really grew a passion for. And I'd say probably year 3, we was like, okay, we're really starting to get some traction here. That's by scale, let's take it a little more serious and let's get more involved in this. So, like I said, I did work full-time and ran the business for the first 4 years. And that was because we were growing our family. We have 2 kids, 3 and 1. So we wanted to get through that because you never know what can happen. When you're having a child, you never know if there's any complications, whatever. You just don't know what it entails. And to make that big jump at that time in our life, we weren't really comfortable with. And not only that, but it also gave us some time to build a name for ourselves and to get ourselves out there and known in the community, that we were a company. And a topic that I think we're going to hit on here for a little bit is it also gave me the opportunity to reinvest a lot into my company. So that way, when we did make that jump, we weren't having to buy a lot of equipment, buy, multiple trailers, whatever it is. We took that time to dump everything we made off the business back into the business. So that way it would just give us a little leverage when we made that jump.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. And I love hearing the stories from all the people that have the good fortune of meeting in this industry, whether it's at GIE, online, in our community, through these interviews. Everybody has a different reason for why they started the way that they did. I think it was brilliant. Having started in many businesses myself, when my first business, I actually shut down. It took me almost 7 years to have my son, because it just took us forever to get pregnant. And we finally got pregnant and gave it all up. and I ended up going to work for somebody else because I wanted to spend more time at home.
Right.
I didn't want to work like I was when I was running my own business 7 days a week throughout all the holidays. I wanted to be there for him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like you were making the same decision, which is true. You don't know the financial risk that you take when you have a new business is difficult,
Hmm.
and when you have to support a family, that's a big risk to take unless you've already got some kind of traction and history in the back.
Yep.
So I admire you, number one, for doing that and putting your family first. But what's interesting, and this was a conversation we were having earlier, is that I find it an interesting strategy to start a business, even if you want to start full time, start it part time for a couple of years so that you can invest. You have a full time income somewhere else, hopefully, to cover your bills. Then
Yep.
that way, that allows you to reinvest any of your money that you make from lawn mowing into the business so that when you do start full time, you've got a bit of an inventory without having to be in heavy debt. Is that when you started? Were you in that situation? Is that something common you're hearing out there?
Um, that's what we did, and like I said, we didn't count the business income as being like our personal income. It just literally went back to, whether it's buying a trailers, because we have a separate trailer for our mowing, we have a dump trailer, um, you know, reinvesting into our truck to the type of truck we're wanting, handheld equipment, mowers, whatever it is. We didn't count that business income as our income because we wanted, for one, we didn't want to have that jeopardize like our main goal by taking any of that income, but we knew what our end goal was going to be. So by having my full-time job, and my wife works full-time, but by having, my full-time income, our what we were doing in our personal life, whatever, was covered. So I didn't have to stress about like, man, I'm barely bringing enough home to run the business, let alone support a family of, family of four, and, make sure food's on the table. So it did ease up a lot of stress in doing that. And like I said, I think it did give us some good leverage going into our first year full time, knowing we are outfitted, the right way, and to get us to be successful that first year.
That's interesting. When you're managing a family, along with that is difficult. What do you do when you're not working? How do you kind of manage that off time?
Um, Try to be as intentional with my time. It is like, man, so my schedule when I was working full time and running the business was, I was up between 3:30 and 4 a.m. I would get off between 12 and 2, my full time job, and then after that I would just hit the pavement running on the business. So sometimes I get home at 8, sometimes it's after dark, after I leave the shop, and that was tough to do, but we it was just like we knew what our end goal was going to be. So it's like sacrifice the time then to get us a better leverage point when we make that jump. So now that we are full time, um, I always say like it's not like it's any easier running the business because you still have like all the back end work to do. You just have more time to do the business and be able to focus all in on it. But when it comes to family time, that's something we're constantly working on. Because last year being our first year full time, I felt a lot of pressure just because I was like, all right, here it is. This is what we've been working for. Let's go after it. So I probably worked later than what I would really want to, but at the same point, I was like, we got to get through this first year, see how it is, and then go on through that. So something we're going to implement this year is we're looking to get another truck on the road and get 2 guys to be able to handle the mowing because our landscaping is really blowing up. But what I want to do is have like a hard stop time to our day to where it's like, hey, we're back at the shop at 5. So that way that gives me my enough evening time to be able to come home, unwind, whether it's then do some computer work, then be all in on the family, or vice versa, be all in with the family, dinner and all that. So that work-life balance I feel like is kind of always a thing. But something my wife and we kind of have an understanding for is like there's times of seasons to where it's like it's grind time, and then there's time, like then we have our slow times, like spring rush. There's not going to be a bunch of free time, to take trips or anything like that, or weekend trips, because it's, that's our money making time. That is when all the landscaping's, going in. You're trying to cram as much work as you can. You're marketing, you're doing it all to have a good year. So we know springtime's going to be, maybe a little less on like a bunch of family time. Not saying, we don't have that, but there's going to be a lot more work hours. Then when season starts to slow down a little bit in the summer, we start to dry out a little bit. That's when, we'll take a weekend trip, like I won't work, Thursday, Friday. We'll take a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and, go on a weekend trip, whether it's to Tennessee, to our family's vacation house, or whatever it may be, just something to, kind of get everything back in balance. But that's something, though, I think a lot of people, it's kind of like a balancing act. You just kind of just find your way through it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and that everybody should be listening to out there that is running a business or starting a business. Just, good marriage advice in general is to always have like a date night. Make sure that you take time for the two of you, because your lives end up getting, even without a business, your lives get wrapped up with the kids, taking them to soccer, taking them to ballet, all the things that you do with your kids. And then you forget about the two of you. And when they're grown, you realize that you've grown apart. So, I mean, like planning intentionally, saying, okay, we're going to take a weekend here or there. I will work my schedule around that. For just the two of you, I think or for the kids, as the case may be, that's important. Now,
Yep.
you didn't start. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, please go on.
And that is something that, just listening to folks and talking to folks in the industry that, are years ahead of me, or, or whatever, that have been through like my position. And they said that they set like their family schedule, like if they're doing trips or weekend getaways, whatever, like they do that at the beginning of the year and then build their work schedule around that. So like those are not our, I forget what the term is, but to where like, hey, this week, it don't matter what's going on, we have that chalked off to where we're going to Tennessee. Like whatever it is can wait, So they kind of set their dates that they're wanting to do and then build their work schedule around that, just to try and make it a point to keep that family in line.
Yeah, definitely good advice. What are you, going back, over the last 2 years full time, the last 6 years in this industry? What is one of those situations where you did something that was like, oh, bleep, I screwed up. I am not proud of what we just did.
Man, honestly, there's not been too much issues that I've ran into. Luckily, I'd say if there's ever been time that I've like felt like down bad on myself on a decision I made, would be, some of those instances where it's like, I knew we had something planned, but we had a job, like we were like not far from being at that, to where that job's going to be buttoned up. So we worked extra, and it kind of, threw some wrenches in some plans we had, like even just for like a date night or something. So, I mean, it's one of those things that sucks in the moment, but then, you're like, hey, I've goofed up there. We'll make up for it, next week or something. But yeah, I'd say I haven't really gotten into too much,
And on the business front, like if we look at it just purely on the business, not outside of your relationship.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
What are you the most proud of over the last 6 years?
What I have grown from basically nothing. Like to literally think I went from just picking up, just wanting to cover payments of a mower, to what we're doing now. I never imagined it becoming something like this, or something I even wanted to do. Especially because like the job I was working, like I made great money. It was a job to where I got I would say a lot of flack from people on leaving, because this job where it's like, you make all that money, like you have great benefits. Why would you want to leave there? Like it's a place you retire from and it's just my passion wasn't there. That was what I was wanting to do, move up the ladder, but then it just got like as I continue to grow the business and kind of see more on this world, um, that's just where I wanted to be at, and this is what I want to do. Hopefully we can continue to grow, and like I said, this year, hopefully we get a couple more employees in to where we can have another truck on the road. And then we can really start turning this thing into something where like we're providing for other families too, because we're, bringing jobs to the community. So, but yeah, just seeing what it started with to what it is now, and just of all the work that it took to get here, and like kind of like the, like I said, the flack that we got from what we've been doing. It's nice knowing like it's what we did has gone somewhere.
Also, I'm happy to hear that. It's good to see that you've grown. One interesting thing is that you've gone quickly beyond mowing and lawn care into landscaping. Was
Yeah.
that a purposeful decision when you first started, or did it just kind of fall in your lap?
Um, I'd say there was a little bit of purpose to it, but it kind of fell in the lap kind of deal. The more I started getting involved in landscaping, the more I started in like the bigger projects we started taking on, like that's when I really started getting into it. Is people are calling us that either don't have landscaping at all at their house, they want something completely different, whatever it is, and it's like they're relying on me to bring whatever they're proposing to me, get it drawn out, get it on paper, like also put my idea, whatever, but then present that to them and like be like, this is what we're going to do, and then bring it to life. And it's like that that whole process is something like when you see it start to finish, and you're like, you put in that like those long hours, sweat equity, you have a lot of variables coming in when you're renting equipment, just the creative aspect of it is what I like. Now, it's nice just cruising on the mower, mowing lawns, it's pretty simple. But man, when you really start getting involved in it and start like putting together plants and, a design, and like you said, that when you're renting equipment, you have multiple vendors bringing supplies, and there's so much going on, but at the same point, you're like, holy crap, like we're doing this. And like just that process. And then, to when the final product comes out and it's like we turned what's on paper into reality, a big that's a big bonus for it.
Yeah, well, I've seen the photos that you've posted before, and the work is outstanding. For those people that want to follow you and see some of this work, there's where do they find you on social media?
The biggest one for social wise is Instagram and YouTube. Instagram, we're posting, that's more of like daily stuff, or like, we're buttoned up with the project. We have a nice camera that we take, make sure to take great photos of our work. So you'll see pictures there. And then on YouTube, a lot of time I bring the camera along to a lot of jobs, like just showing the progression of the job, whether it's a time lapse or like, just walking through like what we're doing. I bring the camera along for that too. So you get to see some day in the life stuff and behind the scenes. So definitely Instagram and YouTube. It's just Solo Cuts Landscaping, and type it there and you'll find us.
And for those of you that have questions, you want to engage, obviously, Dylan is one of our UAG members. One of the roles that he provides to the community is mentorship. So he's got his content and his advice that he's giving on his articles. You just look him up on the UAG page, and you can see all of his articles specifically linked to his profile, or download the EMB app and just ask questions there and follow him on that channel. Dylan, thanks for taking the time. It was good to hear a little bit more from you, and I hope that the larger audience will connect with you more after this.
Yep, I appreciate it. It was a great time. Thank you.
Thank you.